Welcome back to the Week in Jewish Europe in the Middle East. I'm Yehudan Levohen, reporting from our Baghdad office, and today's breaking news. Rabbinic Judaism is quickly becoming the dominant form of Judaism. The Karaite riots have been quelled, the Ex-Lark is calling for unity, and a prayer book is making its rounds outside of Babylonia. In pursuit of this story, we have sent reporters back in time to speak with key people involved and retrieve information about important events to find out just who are these Geonim and where did they come from. Stick around to find out.
Has your religious life been getting kind of stale lately? Do you want to have a greater spiritual connection to God? You should try Judaism. Switch to Judaism today for a free 2 months of Judaism Premium, allowing you to use God's name in vain once a day without repercussion and snooze during the rabbi's sermon without anyone noticing, guaranteed. Buy now and we'll throw in a spiritual revelation at no added cost. Special offers only available to new converts. Side effects may include circumcision and long, boring family meals.
To trace the origins of Rabbinic Judaism, we have dug deep, all the way back to the 1st century of the current era, when Judaism was centered around the Temple in Jerusalem. At this time, the priests, who are Kohanim, are primarily looked to as the leaders of the Jewish community. Their jobs were to maintain the temple, perform sacrifices, and study Torah. But because it was difficult for them to have this job in addition to other priestly duties, a new class emerged, that of the scribes. The scribes used the Torah to carry out legal law for the Jews, including writing contracts and bills of divorce, as well as adjudicating ritual controversies, which they did using their interpretations of the Torah. At this time of the Second Temple, there were different sects of Judaism with different views and beliefs about the Torah, which influenced how the scribes in that sect interpreted the Torah, and likely led to debate about those interpretations. These scribes could be seen as the first people to act in a way similar to what we know as rabbis, but it only lasted until the Second Temple was destroyed in the year 70. I'm on site of the destroyed temple, and I'm speaking with Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who was fleeing the scene. Please, tell us about the situation. Oh, it's so hard to think right now. One moment I was studying Torah at the temple, and now it's gone. I already hear people talking about how depressed they are because it's gone, and I am too, but just because the temple's gone doesn't mean you should leave Judaism. I hear people saying that. We need to press forward and adapt Judaism to function in this new era. We still have ourselves, and we still have the Torah, so it can be interpreted to work without the temple. And I'm sure of that. I'm sure it can. Back to you, Yehudan. From around 70 to 200, Rabbinic Judaism was practiced by the Tanaim, who were a small, ununified group who lived in secluded villages or in small clumps in cities across Palestine. Because all of the Tanaim were part of the upper class, they did not give primary religious instruction to the main Jewish body of lower-class people, and thus did not have a great deal of influence, and they mostly studied Torah for their own purposes. Tanaim also did not have any legal authority over the Jews, as they were equal to Roman citizens at the time. This changed slightly when the Patriarch was put into power, a little before 200 CE, representing the Jews in the Roman Empire. We have here the first and most influential Patriarch, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, to tell us about his accomplishments. So, you see, what I'm probably best known for is my work codifying the Mishnah, but I believe that there were other things I did that were more important and ultimately helped increase the rabbi's influence more. You see, I created a yeshiva, a university for rabbis, which advertised the movement and gave it a public face that people could turn to for questions about Torah. In fact, I began to give out more legal advice about everyday Jewish matters instead of mostly purity laws and legal procedures. And this was when Jews were only under the Roman government, so they were asking on their own accord. At the yeshiva, I was able to give a broader range of people the ability to become a sage, not just the wealthy, which I did through scholarships. This made the rabbinic movement more inclusive of all Jews. There were several other important things I did, but just one last thing I'll mention is that I widened the rabbi's influence by sending sages to communities outside of Palestine. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi's generation was the first of the Amorim, who saw themselves as a continuation of the Tanaim. By the end of the 4th century, The Amoraim, along with the Patriarch, gained some legal prestige from the Romans, with their Jewish courts being recognized by Roman law. But it is important to say that Jews were not forced to be under the rabbi's authority during this period, and the law only gave Jews the option to choose to go to Jewish courts in certain scenarios. Individual Jewish communities could choose to follow the rabbinic halachot on their own. For example, the Rehov synagogue, which had this mosaic inscription referencing rabbinic texts, showing that they did follow the rabbis. Or, communities could choose to not follow the rabbis. For example, this synagogue in Hamat Tiberias, which had mosaics of people holding objects, which the sages disapproved of. At the end of the 6th century, Islamic rule had taken control from the Romans, and Jews lived in communities throughout the Umayyad Caliphate, which stretched from Spain to Afghanistan, as well as all over the Mediterranean area. At this time, Jews had semi-autonomy of their communities, but the Jewish authorities of different communities were not unified. When the Abbasid Caliphate took power around the year 750, the rabbinic center was moved to Baghdad, and there was an increase in rabbis' power and far-reaching influence. An exilarch, the leader of the Jews, was established, and with that position, Jewish authority under Islamic rule became more unified. The exilarch put in power the Geonim, who were the sages that succeeded the Amoraim, and they wrote and officiated Jewish law as well as the Jewish courts, which were now enforced on all the Jews living under Islamic rule. The Geonim did many things to increase their authority and spread the Babylonian Talmud, including running rabbinic academies, having Kala to study Torah, and starting the Responsa, which were letters consulting about halakha to Jews outside of Babylonia. At this time, a new movement rose up to oppose the rabbinic movement, called the Karaites. Here with us is the founder of that movement, Anan ben David. Thanks for having me on. What we believe as Karaites is that the rabbinic religious authority is inherently wrong, and that Jews should directly follow the Torah, not the Talmud. Our way of Judaism is clearly superior, so it's a matter of the obvious that we gained a good deal of traction and had many followers. But I say had because the rabbis stopped the whole movement and suppressed us, using their authority of the exilarch and prestige under the Abbasid government. I suppose you could say it's a testament to the power of the Geonim, since they were powerful enough for us to want to revolt, and then they were powerful enough to extinguish us. But remember, the power lies in the Torah. And I'll now give a quick rundown of the geography of the rabbis coming to power, starting with the temple, which was located in Jerusalem, in the Holy Land. Once the temple was destroyed, Jews and Tanaim scattered across the Israel area, where they remained until Rabbi Yehuda Anasi extended the reach of the rabbinic movement to also include Bavel. This is where the Amoraim mostly were, and once the Muslims took over, they became the Geonim. The Geonim moved the rabbinic center from where it had been in Damascus, Syria, to Baghdad in Babylonia. Next, we'll talk about the Karaites. They were mostly located in places further away from the rabbinic centers, like North Africa, because this is where the rabbinic movement had less influence, and so other Jewish movements could start up. We'll also leave you off with one piece of information to prove the rabbis' influence and its extent across the whole area, and that is the Seder Rav Amram, which was a responsa to Barcelona in Spain, and it contained a collection of prayers to say on a daily basis and on festivals, and it's now being widely spread to Jewish communities all over. This shows the dominance of Rabbinic Judaism that created it. Thank you. Back to you, Yehudanan. We will update you on this story as we learn more information, and once the rumors of a separate rabbinic movement in Spain have been confirmed. Thanks to our primary informant, Reb Simon, and thank you for tuning in to the Week in Jewish Europe in the Middle East. Once again, I'm Yehudanan the Bohan, signing off.